by popular request, this is my unboxing of the Gigabyte G1 Killer series of gaming motherboards, G1.Assassin. It has a really cool box for starters. It comes with a 3-year warranty. It is an LGA 1366 motherboard, which means it's got full support for Intel's Core i7 and Core i7 Extreme processors on the LGA 1366 Intel X58 platform. So don't go trying to put your 1155 or 1156 CPU in here. It won't work. Okay, other technologies that we're going to see right off the bat here are X-Fi sound, killer gaming networking. Okay, so this is probably the most feature-rich gaming motherboard I have ever had the opportunity to have a look at, because Gigabyte has not only, added more USB ports and, added more bullet points to the back of, well, it's funny I should say bullet because it's all about bullets. This particular theme here, but they've actually included technologies that are highly relevant to gamers. And to me, better sound is one that most gamers don't really seem to understand that they need, but they do, including a built-in front audio headphone amplifier. That's huge, that's enormous. They've also taken care to use higher quality capacitors on all of the sound or at the sound parts of the board, so that you're going to have good filtering in it, so it's not going to have a high noise to sound ratio, or rather it will have a much higher sound to noise ratio. Here we've got an onboard Creative Sound Blaster X-Fi digital audio processor, so all of that is included. Let's see what else they've got to say about themselves. Super speed, so the onboard Bigfoot Killer E2100 game networking platform. So you guys have probably heard of the Killer NIC. We actually did an episode about it. This basically, for all intents and purposes, has a dedicated Killer NIC built onto it. Front access control panel for 2 USB 3.0 ports and powered eSATA. It includes support for SATA 3, 6 gigabit per second, and USB 3. Super Shield here, so this is actually just the heatsink design, which looks pretty sweet. We're going to take the board out to show you guys that. And it also has, this is another feature that I've wanted to see on more gaming motherboards, smart fan connectors. So those are going to allow you to actually configure, sorry about that, to actually configure how the fans connected to all of those headers behave. And I don't see it yet, but we're going to find out if those are 4-pin PWM connectors or if they are standard 3-pin connectors. Okay, the board itself, no, I'm not going to let you look at that yet. First we're going to do accessories really quick here. Alright, so we got a poster. This is the G1 Killer gaming motherboard. So there's 3 different boards in this series, the Assassin, the Sniper, and the Gorilla. So they're all featured here. On the back of the board is a target, or the back of the board. On the back of the poster is a target. Next we have some stickers. These are pretty sweet stickers. So we've got bullet stickers. These are all individual bullets, so you can put them wherever you want. We got some bullet holes. We've also got a G1 Killer sticker. Okay. Oh, we've got some more. Look at that. So more G1 Killer, one for each side of your case, more bullets, more bullet holes. Next we have a user's manual as well as a driver disc, so don't use this. Download the latest from the Gigabyte website. Box contents. Okay, nice. Multilingual installation guidebook, just in case you need it. Next we have, actually let's look at this first. So this is our front panel thing. So we've got Quick Boost, which is an overclocking button, eSATA/USB, so that's a powered eSATA, and 2 USB 3.0, so that goes in a 5¼ inch bay. Next we've got a Gigabyte sticker, although that's not as cool as all those other stickers we saw. Dolby Home Theater sticker. And we've got an I/O shield, which is conveniently labeled in terms of all of the different connectors on the back. We have a 3-way SLI bridge in Gigabyte's classic color scheme, so you might want to get yourself a black SLI bridge to go with this board if you are going to install that, as well as 1 Crossfire bridge and 1 SLI bridge. And finally, we have 4 SATA cables. 2 are straight and 2 are right angle cables. So I'm going to go ahead and close this because it makes for a great digicam, that is digital camouflage, not digital camera, digicam background for the motherboard itself, which I will eventually extract from the packaging. There we go, we got a little cover there. And this is a huge board, like enormous. Okay, here we go. So the first thing, you know what, let's go, you know what, I'm gonna do my standard approach to this. So the first thing we find is the CPU socket here in the middle of the board. That is an LGA 1366 socket. As I mentioned before, over here on the left, we've got dual 8-pin power connectors, so you can provide a ton, that is to say, a ton of juice to that CPU socket without running into any power delivery instability. Let's count the CPU power phases. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16, oh, hold on. Give me a moment on this one. So that is a 16-phase power design around the CPU socket. I think we also already talked about these. So let's work our way over to the RAM. We have support for up to 6 DIMMs running in triple channel. So that is up to 24 gigabytes of memory on this particular board. You can see here that the first ones we're going to need to populate are the green ones. And once you've populated all of the green ones, then you can begin to populate the black ones. You've got a fair amount of space around the CPU socket in general, which is so important for a board like this, where the reality of it is nobody's using stock cooling on a motherboard of this caliber, so you need lots of space around for aftermarket cooling. On the right hand side of the board, we've got our 24-pin connector in its ideal location. We also find, moving on down the right, that we have all of our SATA connectivity. So these 6 are going to be running at SATA 2 3 gigabit per second, and these 2 are going to be running at SATA 3 6 gigabit per second. Remember guys, the X58 platform and ICH10R do not natively support SATA 3, so these are running off of a third-party chipset, and that is why you don't see more SATA 3 6 gigabit per second connectors on this board. Down at the bottom, we've got our front panel connectors. We've got 2 front USB 2, 2 front USB 3 headers, and then we have an auxiliary Molex power connector, our front audio in its ideal location. This is the first time I've seen front audio here on a Gigabyte motherboard. Usually it's up here over by the audio chipset, but you can actually see the creative chipset being used is down here, so maybe that's why they put it there. In terms of expansion, here we go. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 PCI Express 16X connectors. None of them are 2 of them are only wired for PCIe 8X. So these 2 are wired for full PCIe 16X, and you can see from the spacing that those are the 2 you're intended to use for 2-way SLI. And then if you were to run 3-way SLI, you're probably going to go 1, 2, 3, and for 4-way, well, I think the answer should be quite obvious, 1, 2, 3, 4. Additional connectors, we have 2 PCIe 1X, 1 PCI slot. So if you are running dual cards in SLI, you're going to be left with 1 PCIe 8X, 1 PCIe 1X, and a final PCIe 8X. So here's all of the circuitry that is involved in the built-in amplified motherboard audio. Okay, we also have up here the Killer E2100 with its dedicated RAM. And so I think that's pretty much it for the overall features. Okay, you know what? Let's have a look at the cooling on this board because it's pretty sweet looking. So the cooling on this board is heat pipes with heat sinks, as we've come to pretty much expect at this point from any decently high-end motherboard. We've also got some kind of neat design elements here. So you can see that this particular heat sink is the front of a pistol. Okay, so if you look at it from that angle, you can see that's the sight. From the other side, you can see that's the barrel, so that's kind of neat. The one over here at the top doesn't seem to have that kind of a shape going for it. Here we've got gaming motherboard, we've got some LEDs built in here. Okay, our Northbridge heatsink is very, very solid. The reality of it is the X58 chipset doesn't require a ton of cooling, so Gigabyte's not concerned about the thermal efficiency of this design. I mean, it's more than adequate for cooling everything we got here, but they just want it to look sweet, and they have definitely achieved that. Now, the Southbridge heatsink is just one slab of metal, and unlike some of the motherboards I've seen with huge cooling heatsink solutions on them in the recent past, this one, everything is constructed entirely of metal, so it's actually going to contribute to cooling. Now, this bottom one is a clip right there, so you can see it's actually got a bullet sticking out the top of it, and then on the bottom a convenient little warning just for the special purchasers out there. Heatsink, not a weapon, cannot be assembled as a firearm. So please put that out of your mind. You won't be doing it. That won't be happening. What else did I want to show? Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to show you guys is, yes, those controllable fan connectors are all 4-pin PWM. So there's one here. Actually, here, just back out and I'll show you where they are. So we got one here, one here, one here, one here, and finally one here. I also didn't point out this other auxiliary 4-pin power connector. Now, the reason these two are here is because all of the motherboard power comes from the 24-pin connector traditionally. These are just for the CPU. So that means if you install 4 graphics cards by spec, all of them need to pull a pretty decent amount of power out of the board, and then they only pull the extra that they need from those connectors at the back. So if you plug in 4 high-powered GPUs and you don't use these auxiliary power connectors, you can actually burn the connectors here from so much current running through them. So that's what Gigabyte is trying to prevent on their nice, shiny, high-end motherboard. So we've got some more power delivery back here, and this is a nice touch. I always like to see this. Proper screws attaching the cooling solution for the motherboard rather than push pins, because that's going to make sure that if it gets hot or cold, expands, contracts, no matter what happens, everything is going to stay properly attached. And I'm just looking at the board. I mean, the overall color scheme of it I think is great. They're using their new matte black PCB, which I think looks better than anyone else's PCB out there. The color scheme is phenomenal with a nice gunmetal appearance to everything, and then a couple of green and black accents. I think it looks absolutely outstanding. It would actually be a great pair for that half-X NVIDIA edition right back there, because this is not a standard size motherboard. This is actually a 9 expansion slot motherboard. So you can see there's 2 missing spots up here and then 7 expansion slots. So this is longer than a standard motherboard, actually by a fairly substantial margin. You know what, give me a sec, I'll go grab one. So just for comparison's sake, here's the P67A UD4 next to the G1.Assassin. Okay, and you can see that it is substantially shorter, and it is also substantially narrower. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on top, and I'll get the cameraman to come have a look at how much wider this board is. So you can see the mounting holes here and here. There are your mounting holes. Well, yeah, there's more board to the side of this one than there is on a standard sized ATX motherboard. So you're gonna make sure you need to have a special case to accommodate a board like this. Let's go ahead and have a look at the back panel connectors, and I think that's pretty much it. We've got 2 dedicated PS2 connectors. I do still like to see these. We've got coaxial audio out. We have 4 USB 2.0. 4 USB 3.0, gigabit Ethernet powered by Bigfoot networks, and then we have 7.1 audio as well as an additional digital audio output, and that is optical. Thank you for checking out my unboxing of the G1 Assassin. Don't forget to subscribe to Linus Tech Tips for more unboxings, reviews, and other computer videos.